And
And
we
we
are
are
live.
live.
Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
everybody.
Part
Part
X.
X.
I know
I
y'all
know
just
y'all
saw
just
me
saw me
yesterday. We
yesterday.
were
We were
live
live
last
last
night. We
night. We
talked
talked
to
to
Jocelyn
Jocelyn
about
about
life
life
in
in
Honduras.
Honduras.
And so
And
we're
so we're
continuing our Latin
Latin
American
American
theme.
theme.
And
And
today we're
today
going to
we're
be
going to be
talking to
talking to
Jewel
Jewel
about
about
life
life
in
in
Ecuador.
Ecuador.
Could
Could
somebody
somebody
who's
who's
here
here
watching
watching
tell me if they are
are
getting kind of an
kind of an
echo?
echo?
I just
I
want to
just
make
want to
sure.
make sure
If it's
it's
just
just
me,
me.
I'm not
I'm not
worried.
worried.
Because
I don't have
the
plug in.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
So nobody has said anything in the comment. So I'm guessing that means there is an audio problem.
Well, you sound fine on my end.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if you are
you are
joining us
us
live,
live,
welcome.
welcome.
If you are watching the replay, thank you for watching. My name is Delia Borchade. Although most people on the internet know me as Girl Travel the World, I have been living abroad for the last 7 years. Okay, so yes, y'all are hearing it. Let's see. Do you hear an echo now? Are you hearing an echo now, guys? Because I don't hear an echo now. Do I still have an echo? Because right now, I am not hearing it. Okay, so not sure what it is, Jewel, but it is on, I think, I don't know, maybe StreamYard just doesn't like your computer. So what we will do,
I'm actually on a cell phone. Yeah, so, and do they hear an echo from me as well?
No, I think the echo is only when I speak. So like right now, I put you on mute. And I don't think they hear an echo when I put you on mute. And then when I take you off and I speak. So that's what we'll do is when I don't have anything to say, I will just be quiet.
All right, perfect.
So if you are new here and you are, watching this in the future, thank you for joining in. As I was saying, my name is Adelia Borchade. Although most people on the internet know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I first left the United States about 6.5 years ago. I've lived in Mexico, China, Kuwait, Honduras. I call Mexico City home now. This channel is all about sharing what my life is like as I live abroad, as I travel. And we also talk about money on this channel because I am a financial educator who is dedicated to helping women, particularly Black women, develop financial confidence so that they can master their money and live the life of their dreams. So if any of those topics are of interest to you, you should subscribe to the channel. You should turn on notifications so that you'll be the first to know when I upload a new video or when I go live, like I am today with my guest, Jewel. So, Jewel, I am going to ask for you to introduce yourself. I'm sure that folks who've kind of been around the Black expat circles probably know you, but just in case we have some folks that don't.
Okay, not a problem. I'm Jewel Wren. I am the founder and administrator of African Americans in Ecuador Part 2. I've lived in Ecuador 5 years next month, actually. I'm a permanent resident here and absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's been a godsend for us. It's freedom, actually. So we love it. And please subscribe to African Americans in Ecuador when you have a chance. You can search for it on Facebook, Part 2, and you'll find us. So please join.
what I will do when we're finished with this live, I'll put a link to the Facebook group in the description of the video. That way, anybody who is interested, I'm going to guess that probably after today's conversation, your interest in Ecuador will be piqued. And so you'll be able to ask your questions in that group and connect with other uh, Black Americans who live there. So, Jewel, you've been living in Ecuador for almost 5 years. I think the question most people are wondering is in in a world where, we hear about so many people going to Portugal, we hear about so many people going to Mexico and all these other places, Costa Rica, why Ecuador?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question because we actually followed my son and his family to Ecuador. They came first at 32 years old with a 5-year old and a 5-month old. And though we all had been doing research on various places, them more than us, because at that time we were still working, but they eventually settled on Ecuador after a ton of research, after a ton of travel, and they admitted and said that it was the easiest, softest landing. And so, because I know them to be extremely thorough, they came in 2014, so they've been here 9 years. And so we came to visit them in 2016 and absolutely fell in love with Manta. We're in Manta on the coast, the Pacific coast. And we loved it. It had everything we wanted. It's a city, but it's a city with a small town feel. We didn't want a huge city like Quito, which I do love, and Guayaquil, which is also huge. But this is a small city, a city with a small town feel that happens to be on the Pacific Ocean. And it's cheaper than Costa Rica, considerably, and in other places. And as I said, it was a softer landing. The visa requirements are not as high as in other places. When I came, you only had to have an income of $800 a month, okay, per person. And if your other party, say for instance, if your husband or your child was coming with you, and they could be your dependent for an additional $100 a month. So say $900. That has since changed. So that, and then even at that point, 2 years later, it went down to $425 a month. So it was really low. Now they have changed it yet again as they changed the rules down here, like they changed the weather. It is now $1,275 a month per person, or a person can be a dependent. But that's still substantially less than a lot of other places.
So I am struck by the fact that y'all's story is a little different because a lot of the women that I talk to through the work I do with and also through the YouTube channel, it's usually I want to go and I'd love to bring my parents, but like they are not interested at all. So I am curious when your son mentioned, "Hey mom, we're probably going to be moving to Ecuador." What was your reaction?
My reaction was, he's my son. I know him. He's like me. I've always been progressive. I bought my first property out of the country in 2004. Initially, we were going to retire to the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix. And even though it's part of the U.S., it's not continental U.S., that was our initial retirement plan. And we owned that property for 16, 17 years. And so, and I've always been adventurous, so I wasn't surprised at all. And everybody that knows me and knew him said, well, that is your son, so we're not surprised. So I wasn't surprised at all, actually, because I know him very well. So that's where we are.
Okay. So, it wasn't I just love that because I think about myself, like, if one of my kids was like, "Hey, I'm moving to such and such country," I'm like, "Bet, I'm trying to go." Okay. So, one of the things you mentioned in your intro was that, uh, Ecuador, particularly Manta, is a bit of a soft landing space. Why do you feel that way?
Well, as I said, the
We'll give her a second to see if her sound comes back. Hmm, it wouldn't be a Friday without some technical glitches, huh? All right, let's see. Um,
Sorry, guys. Problem. Sorry, guys. I had a slight problem. Can you see me?
oh, I can hear you. Let me see what happens if I add. Okay, so no, I thought maybe one we would get to see you uh and get to hear you, but I think we solved the
It
echo
says
problem.
it says you're it says you're backstage.
Say that again.
It says you're backstage.
Okay, no, you're on. Try turning on your camera. Do you see the little button?
Yeah. Okay, let me try that. Okay. Is that better?
Okay, hold on a second because you're in here twice. Sorry about this, y'all. Hold on. Okay.
There we go.
All right, so hold on. Let's try this. Okay, I'm speaking. Do y'all hear an echo when I speak? Let me know if you hear an echo when I speak. Jewel, can you say something?
Yes, huh? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't hear an echo when I speak. So I think we can remove this one. All right, we have no
Okay.
echo. Okay, we're good to go now. All
Okay, so
right,
what was
so
your last question?
my question was about you expressed that you felt that Ecuador, Manta, was a good soft landing. And so
Okay.
I'm curious as to why.
Well, as mentioned, the um, expense is not great. And because I'm a realtor here, I have placed many people in apartments. So when they show up, they already have a place to stay. All they have to do is bring their clothes. The lease is signed, the internet is involved, and they're done. So it's very easy. I make sure that it's easy.
Okay. And all right, so y'all have been there for a while, and you mentioned this before I got a chance to, that you work with real estate
Yeah.
there in Ecuador. Now, I did my Googles, and I know that you worked in real estate in the US. And so I don't know if the audience is curious about this, but I am
Okay.
about how that works because I've like living here in Mexico, we don't have realtors in the same sense that we had in the US. There have been some foreigners who come and kind of work in that capacity. But I've always wondered like, is that part of a visa or is that because you've got permanent residency so you can do that? Was there a special process?
Absolutely no. There are a lot of Americans down here that are involved in the real estate business. As a matter of fact, one of the most knowledgeable ones and most well-known ones has been here many years. Now, you can go through the licensing process if you want to, but it's totally different from the US. You go to school for 9 months in Spanish. And I associated myself with a licensed realtor here who told me that she didn't think that was necessary and that I would work under her license. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, all right. And here in Mexico, having a realtor, because what happens is a lot of people come from the US, they come from Canada, and when they are looking for an apartment, their first thought is, oh, I'll get an agent, I'll get a realtor. And that's how they find properties. And what they very quickly find out is that it is not like the system in the US. There is no MLS. It is, if you work with a realtor, you are seeing the properties that either they list personally or maybe are listed at the agency they work at. A lot of the properties here, I'd say the vast majority never even get to an agent. They put a say rent a sign in the window, and it's really on you and word of mouth.
That's very similar here. There is no MLS like you used to in the States. It's very old school. If it's not a listing that my partner has, we have to reach out to the owner, get the keys, make arrangements to show the property. So it's very old school here. It's not like I can go to centralized marketing service and ask for a code and have 5 apartments available to show you today.
Okay. All right. And so since y'all been in Ecuador so long, what's one of your favorite things about living there?
Living on the ocean, direct to ocean front. I'm a beach girl. Now, there are a lot of other African Americans who live in other places. Cuenca is an expat hotspot. It's in the mountains. It's cool. It's cold. I don't want cold. There's quite a few of us in Quito. Beautiful city, high altitude. It's cold. There's Vilcabamba. There's Loja. There's a lot of places. But I'm a beach girl. I gotta be on the water.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, what has I kind of feel like have you been like in the Black expat circle? Are you like the senior member? Are you the person who's been there the longest?
In this group, I am the senior person that's been here the longest.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so you've seen it all. You've seen how the numbers have increased. What can you tell us about the Black expat community? Because one of the concerns I often hear when I talk to people about leaving the US is this concern about being around people who look like them, or who understand what it is to be a Black American. So tell us a little bit about what y'all got going on there.
Well, I get a lot of comments. There are a lot of expat groups. But what I found from African Americans, Black Americans, is that the perspective in my group is more tailored to us. They said, yes, I'm in this other group, but they don't really address the things I'm concerned about. So we have monthly expat gatherings. We get together. We have game night. We have dinners. We go out and party. So we hang. We're a very close knit group, and we share information.
Okay, because anytime I see pictures of anybody visiting Ecuador or Manta, you're in the picture. It's
Yep,
it's we're at dinner, we're on a terraza, we're on the balcony somewhere.
yep. I make it my business to welcome everybody that comes to Monster. I usually have a gathering. I may have something at my apartment, but everybody's welcome. And I make sure that they know it.
Okay. All right, guys. So if y'all have questions, please drop them in the chat. I don't know that you'll get an opportunity to ask your question of someone who has so much knowledge about Ecuador, particularly like the Black American experience there. Now, on this channel, I've mentioned previously my desire to have residency in at least one other country. And Ecuador was on the list, and then I did a little digging, and then Ecuador was not on the list. And in talking to Jewel, turns out Ecuador might need to be on my list. So, Jewel, can you talk a little bit about um, what it like if somebody wants to move there? What are their options as far as a visa is concerned?
Okay, we have the professional visa, which requires a college degree. Now, it used to be a 4-year degree, but I've read that it's changed to an associate degree. Has nothing to do with working. You apply just like you regularly would. Your school, you have to have your transcript and you have to have a mode of study letter. They want to make sure that you went to school full time, not online. They don't like online. So that's number one. Number two, there's the pensioners visa. You need to have an income of $1,275 per month per person. Now, if the other person is not getting a pension or a retirement, that person can become your dependent for another $300 a month. So 1375. And then lastly, there's the investor visa, 42,500 in a CD, or you can buy a property. That's it.
I was considering the professional visa because I was like, if that's one thing I got a degree. And I had also heard that they are now accepting associate's degrees as well. And my concern was about the amount of time I would be required to be in the country, because what I have found in most of my research is that most visas fall into two categories. It's either going to be like a golden visa or some kind of investment scheme where it's like, if you have a lot of money, you can give us your money and we won't make you jump through hoops. We won't make you spend a lot of time here. But if you don't have a lot of money, you're going to have to pay us in time. And often they require 6 months, 9 months. Some places it's like, no, you can only be gone for, a couple of months. And it sounds like that Ecuador has removed those requirements.
This is what I tell people. It seems like I hear an echo. Can somebody let me know if they hear an echo?
I don't know, because I don't hear an echo. Like, your sound is not as good as it was.
Okay.
And I have gone back and forth between muting one of your sound sources and the other. Um, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
All right, I think we're okay right here where we
Okay,
are.
great.
So,
Okay. One of the things that I tell people, do not rely on third party sites. They are usually incorrect. My lawyer told me, and others, don't believe anything you read. If it doesn't come from the Equatorial government, it's not valid. So, as mentioned, the rules have changed. There are two steps to residency: temporary residency, permanent residency. You never have to become permanent if you don't want to. You can just renew your temporary residency every 21 months. And you can come and go as you please. There are no restrictions in the country
okay.
or
All
out
right.
of the country.
And that's the same here in Mexico, and I would imagine that is the same in a lot of Latin America. Like, what it tells you on the website and what they're going to ask you for when you actually go, are often not the same thing. Um, so yeah, you gotta go with the flow, keep your knees bent, kind of be prepared for anything. Okay. Um, so can we talk a little bit about um, Okay, hold on. I see the comments in the chat. Okay. Jewel, can you say something? Because I need to know. Yes, y'all, I have Jewel twice on the screen, but one of them is muted. So just because there's an extra one there doesn't mean we're hearing from that. Right now, her sound is only coming from one place. Can you say something, Jewel, just so we can
Yes.
see the quality of this one?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's not the greatest sound in the world, but I can hear you and I can understand what you're saying. Does anybody have a problem with Jules' audio right now? Because it's hard for me to tell how delayed the comments are. Okay, ain't nobody saying nothing, so we're gonna move forward like everything is great. Okay. And oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about kind of cost of living. I don't know if you want to get if you want to make a comparison to like what y'all's life costs when you were still in the States or
Oh, that's easy. No comparison. The East Coast of the United States is super expensive. We lived in the DC area where you couldn't even rent a studio for $3,500 a month. Okay? So, no comparison. Now, you can live any lifestyle you want down here. You want to come down here and spend a ton of money, you can do that. You can go buy a $600,000 condo if you want, but you don't have to. You can also find a $75,000 condo. Okay? You can pay a lot of rent. You can pay a little rent. It depends on what you want. Cost of living wise, housing, food is inexpensive. You can get 10 dragon fruit for $1. Dragon fruit in the States costs $5.99 per fruit.
okay,
So,
wait, hold on. Cause everybody knows I don't buy produce, so I have no frame of reference. But 10 dragon fruit for $1 versus one dragon fruit for
$5.99
$5, 5.99 stateside.
for
Now,
one. Right.
Ecuador is on the dollar, correct?
Yes, Ecuador is on the dollar. That is correct. I can get a pineapple for $1.25. I can get a bag of limes for $1. And there might be 30, 40 limes in it. So we eat very, very well.
Okay, so far what I am hearing, because when we were talking about visas, um, it sounds like if you have an income, you can demonstrate an income of a little over $1,200 a month,
Hmm.
um, or if you are a pensioner or a retired person, and you can show you've got some money, or if you've got an extra 40 grand laying around, 42 grand, put that in the bank, what have you. So it sounds like the barrier to entry is not super duper high.
No,
Price wise, far more reasonable than the United States. Like you said, you are living beachfront. One of the reasons y'all chose this particular city. So, and we've discussed that like the visa requirements are are very doable. So it sounds um, like Ecuador is the place to be. Is there anyone you would say that Ecuador is not a good place for?
well, it depends on your expectations. Um, some people come down here expecting the Caribbean. It's not the Caribbean. It's not the Dominican Republic. It's not Jamaica. It's not the Bahamas. So if you're coming down here with those expectations, you're going to be disappointed. Okay. Most of the people that are here, they're looking to either to see if they like it. They're not necessarily coming as tourists. They're coming to see if they like it as a place to live. And so every place is not for everybody. So you just have to come see.
Very, very true. Every place is not for everybody. I adore Mexico City, but I had somebody on the channel. I think she was here all of 2 weeks before she was like, nope, this is not for me. Now, I heard you say in another interview that when y'all landed there, you were like, this is it. What was it about Ecuador, about Manta, that you said, this is my place, this is where I want to be?
It was the vibe of the city. Like I said, it's a small city. I mean, it's a city, but it has a small town vibe. And we just loved it right away. We felt it. We were excited. And we knew instantly we were coming back. We knew
Okay.
instantly.
Okay. We had a question about produce. The prices sound really great. What about other kinds of goods, particularly electronics, furniture? How do those compare?
Well, electronics is high down here. Not as high as it used to be. Because I bought two big screen TVs here and the prices were very good. I can remember a few years ago, they were super high. So that has changed. But computers and stuff like that, you need to bring with you because you're going to pay a premium.
Okay. I'm sure somebody's wondering this, even though they haven't asked. Can y'all order from Amazon and have it delivered there?
We can, and we just recently had something delivered, but the shipping costs are high. The shipping costs are high. So what we generally do, we have a couple of services down here that you can order from the States and this company will facilitate the order being delivered to you. We also have what they call mule services. People who travel back and forth to the States and they charge so much per pound. You send it to them at their US address, they bring it back to Ecuador for you.
Okay. Okay. Um, we have two questions, kind of both of them deal with community. Um, how common is it to find English speakers where you are?
Not human at all. This is a Spanish speaking country. And I tell people that all the time. Yeah, among us, we're speaking English. But when you go out into the community, they speak Spanish. And I get questions all the time. Oh, where can I find an English speaking pharmacy in the US?
Okay. Okay.
Not common.
Uh, I can't say that that is a big surprise to me. We had another question about the interactions with local folks. Are they easy to connect with, build relationship, make local friends?
We have lots of equatorial friends. They're very welcoming. They're very kind. They're hard working. I've not had any problems at all. None.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know about y'all, but Ecuador has definitely moved up my list. Are you learning to speak Spanish?
Oh, I started studying before I got here. And when we arrived, we went to Spanish school. We went for 8 weeks, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. No English spoken at all. Challenging, but we got through it. You gotta learn it. You gotta learn it. I mean, you get sick in the middle of the night and you need to call an ambulance. What you gonna do? Reach for Google Translate?
Very true. Very true.
You know.
Okay. And do you feel like that 8 week program sounds like it was an immersive 8 week program? Was that enough to get you to the point that you were comfortable? You were able to do the communicating you needed to do?
I'm comfortable, but I'm going to go back. And I study on my own. As a matter of fact, my housekeeper is here. She speaks no English. So I have to be able to tell her what I need her to do today or to cook for us. So, yes, it was great, but you never stop learning. You never
Yeah.
stop learning. So,
I had to take my dog to the vet this morning to get a travel health certificate. And I don't know why I was so nervous. And I could not remember. These are words, I've done this like 20 times. And finally, I tell the doctor, I was like, I'm sorry. My Spanish is usually so much better than this. But, I've been in Latin America for 4 years, I guess, and it is still a work in process, a
yeah,
progress rather.
yeah,
So,
it is.
okay. Um, what about the food? Um, I I don't know. I don't think I know anything about Ecuadorian cuisine.
Well, you can get everything here. You can get everything here in America, and different regions of the country eat differently. Like we're in Monterey province. So Monterey has its own set of food. They use plantains a lot. They make bologna with cheese or with meat. Um, they make an incocado, which is a coconut sauce for chicken or fish. Um, they use peanut sauce a lot in different dishes and soup. So it's different, but you can cook the regular stuff too. You know, barbecue ribs, potato salad, whatever you want to make.
Okay. We had a question about restaurants, breakfast places, and also like museums, cultural activities and events in this particular, because you say that it has a small town feel. I think the population is just over like 200,000 people.
Yeah, it's about
Not
250.
okay.
It's about 250.
So do y'all have access to like museums and cultural activities, or is that something that you would
Absolutely.
have to be in Quito?
No, we do. And Monte is growing, and it's close to a lot of little towns that are around. So 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away, lots of things to do and see. So yeah, we have definitely have access to culture things.
Okay.
Absolutely. Coffee farms, chocolate farms, all kinds of great things.
Okay. Well, that sounds good.
And we have a huge Afro-Equatoriano community. They
Oh,
mostly live in the north of the country, Esmeralda province, up that way. And we've been up there, full of history. The first ship that um, wrecked was in 1553, and the slaves made an escape and founded their own development. Really, really rich history here for
okay.
Afro-Equatoriano.
Okay. Deborah says hello
Oh, hey there.
from her rooftop there in Manta as well. All right. We got a
I
really
found her
great
that place.
got a really great question from Mary. In the work that you do, could you help somebody who's going to spend just a few weeks there? Could you help them find a short-term rental? Is that something that you do?
I usually do not do short-term rentals. However, I will definitely help them find an appropriate Airbnb.
Okay.
And I usually ask them to send me links so I can see where it is. You know, if it's not in a place where there are a lot of expats, and that I know not to be safe, I'll tell them, don't take that.
Okay. Shauna's got a couple of questions here, like about infrastructure. How walkable is the area? Is this the kind of place where you need a car? Do y'all have Uber?
We do not have a car. We do not have Uber here. However, we have Uber Eats. Go explain. I don't get it. But you don't need a car. Taxis are abundant. $2 to go to the mall. $1.50. You don't need a car. It's very walkable. Very walkable.
Okay. Now we have a question that's about work, and generally speaking, my feeling on going to another country, it's a lot like when people migrate to the US. Going to another country and needing to work within that country is often a difficult thing. And so
It's not
somebody's
going to
asked,
happen. It's not going to
okay,
happen here. You are not going to be able to work here unless an
not even speaking
organization
English? I mean, teaching English?
online,
Okay.
possibly
Okay.
online, every now and then you'll see a situation. But the pay is very low, $7 an hour. You know, it's low.
Wait, $7 an hour?
$7 an hour. Yes,
That's more than here
it
because
is.
the minimum wage in Mexico, and mind you, there are lots of folks who are not making the minimum wage, is $8 a day.
Wow. But
So
like I said, that rate, the minimum wage here is $450 a month. So unless you come with a job already where you can work online, your chances of finding work here are pretty much nil.
okay. And honestly, coming from a country like the US, um, you know, we should not be looking at filling positions that could be filled by local folks. Like
Exactly.
they got to work hard enough to find a job. We don't need to
Exactly.
be interfering with that.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
Let's
They're
see
going
what
to
we got.
definitely defer to Equatorianos first. No question.
Okay. All right. And someone asked about Wi-Fi there. Are you satisfied with the Wi-Fi
I
situation?
have better Wi-Fi here than I had in the States. I have fiber, and I pay $20 a month because I'm a senior
Fiber.
citizen.
Do y'all get senior discounts? I know that's a thing they do in Panama, but and they have a very specific Pinchinato retirement visa. Do
We
they do
do.
that in Ecuador?
We do. We can get half price off airfare. We get half price off the Visa card. We can ride the bus for half price. We don't have to stand in line at the grocery store or the bank. We can go right up to the front. I love it.
I bet you do. I
I
bet you do.
love
That
it.
sounds awesome. That sounds
I love
awesome.
it. As a matter
All
of
right.
fact, we're getting ready to go to the Galapagos. So we'll get half price off of that airfare.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's definitely something else in Ecuador's favor. Okay. All right. Last call for questions. If there is something you want to know about Ecuador that we have not touched on, um, I think I know the answer to this question, but would you say that the life you are living there in comparison to the life you had in the US, would you say that there is more time for ease and joy and those sorts of things?
It's complete freedom. Complete freedom. My biggest decision is what am I going to eat today? Or beach or pool. That's it.
That's the life.
That's the
That's the
life.
life. Okay. Well, thank
Absolutely.
you so much for joining us today, Jewel. When we finish this live, I am going to drop a link to the African Americans in Ecuador Part 2 Facebook group in the description. Other things that are in the description, I mentioned this on last night's live. If you missed out on the Get Started Investing challenge that I held in January, the challenge will open up again. Well, registration is open. The challenge is taking place April 9th. So if you have been telling yourself you were going to figure out that 501k, 401k, you were going to determine whether or not you needed an IRA, you wanted to start buying stocks, and you're like, I've been putting this off, I've been putting this off. Here is your chance to be guided through that in 6 days. And by the end of the week, you will have been able to make your first purchase in the US stock market. So if that is something you have been waiting for, there is a link in the description of this video as well. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else you'll need to know? I don't think so. I don't think so. Thanks, guys, for stopping by
And thanks
and
for
joining
having me.
us. Oh, you're so welcome. So welcome. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to the channel, you probably should. And then I think I'm going to see y'all live. That's a good question. I think next Friday. Next Friday, we will be talking about taxes. So you'll definitely don't want to miss that. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Okay.